can
Okay.
get rid of. So, okay, let me do the same. All right. Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
And we can just talk, and then
Okay.
essentially we can cut anything that
Okay.
we don't use out. So.
It's a beautiful day.
Here in your backyard.
That's right. You know, we're in a lucky spot in the world at the moment.
Yeah, beautiful. Almost fall. Is it fall now?
It is. Is it fall, Hema?
September.
Not officially.
Can I just? Is
The
that
last
one,
days
is that
of
one of
summer.
those lanternflies on the screen there?
Now, Thomas, you have to.
Focus.
The rest of the world is not
I
there.
know, but I have to kill them.
It's good B-roll, you know,
I
Thomas.
have to kill them. Before they kill my
nothing.
trees.
They're gonna ruin the interview too.
I know. If they fly by, I'm just gonna jump out. We'll be wasted here.
Oh man. Okay.
Okay,
It's been a
Misha.
while.
So tell me, Misha,
What have I been up to?
what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, now it's been about a year and a half, little over a year and a half since I moved to New York, and for the most part, I'm loving it. You know, it's one of those places where there are obviously so many more people, which is what I wanted. I wanted to be around people, and I think I'm in a point in life where, you know, developing new relationships is really a focus of mine. You know, people say that, you know, you leave your family, and then for a while, you know, you're seeking out a new family, whether it's friends or you know, new relationships. And I think that's sort of where I'm at in life. Is I'm looking for my new circle of you know, close friends and a relationship as well. A lot of people move to New York for relationships.
No, and we hear via not necessarily the news, but people we know that the dating scene in New York is not particularly good.
It's hard. I did not, you know, I think times have changed, and the ways that people are dating have changed, and I'm finding it, yeah, very tricky to navigate, you know, with technology and also just a different sort of emphasis in terms of how people are engaging in person. I like in person, you know, I like to be able to see someone and you know, read their body language and get more information about them than, you know, you can ever get from a profile.
From an app. Well, if we can introduce here the added knowledge of this ancient system, this archetypal typing system that's many thousands of years old. It's not my idea, or any person that I know of, their idea of anything, any more than gravity's our idea of something. But it is of the knowledge systems I've studied in terms of better negotiating or gaining tools to better negotiate our relationships, whether it's professional, personal,
Right.
with your family, whatever. If
Yeah.
we know what our body type is, then we have some predictability available to us, because every body type, given certain circumstances, will likely respond in the same way over and over again. For instance, there's a body type called the Mars type, and the Mars type it's an aggressive, direct, somewhat confrontational type, but with a lot of energy that can get a lot done. If you know somebody is a Mars type, or you know you are a Mars type, given a situation in which you are being insulted or confronted or refuted or in any way disavowed, you will fight. The likelihood of a Mars type, because it's an active negative type, the likelihood of a Mars type becoming violent or aggressive is pretty high, given a confrontation. A passive type, a lunar type, in the same situation would likely just withdraw, conceal themselves from the disagreement, from the hostility. A Saturn type would tend to try and dominate it, control it, so on. So if we know that we have a type, and that everybody does,
Right.
whether you're looking for a personal relationship, someone to be close to you as in a spouse, or you have a project you're working on and you need people to work on it with you.
Right.
Like, for example, in casting for movies, sometimes they make very, very big mistakes in their casting, because they'll cast an actor that has a similar look to an actor they're replacing, but has a completely different body type.
Right.
And it makes it very difficult for the audience to believe the transition. So if they were able to, for instance, if you have a lunar type as a main character in a role, and you switch that lunar over to a Saturn, the Saturn is a very different energy and perspective than the lunar. And the audience, they won't know, but they won't feel that it was a genuine transition.
They'll sense the difference.
Yeah, they'll sense the
in
difference.
Disposition.
So in that, it's predictable, or there is some predictability in it, if we know what our type is. And there are 7 types
Right.
in this system. We call it foundation knowledge, but it was introduced to the West by George Gurdjieff and Peter Ospinski in the 1900s, I think.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly of the date, but I think it was early 1900s.
And so each individual has, or fits into one of these archetypes best, right?
Yes.
And based off of their, unique set of characteristics, you can classify them as being in one of these 7.
Yes.
Or potentially more than one?
It's very rare to find somebody that is what we would call a pure type.
Right.
It's just everything's blended. It's hard to find pure types. There are some, but mostly they're a blend. For example, your body type is a Saturn Mars solar. So you have actually 3 types.
Wow.
And we have all 7 types. Let me just briefly point out what these types are. There's Saturn type is a active positive type. Positive meaning they see the glass as half full, basically.
Right. A sense of optimism.
Yeah. So they have a certain sense of everything will be okay, I can fix it, things like that. After that, you have the Mars type, which is an active negative type. So for the Mars type, the glass of water is generally half empty, because it's an active negative type, and they will, because it's an active type and it's negative, it will tend to initiate hostilities.
And you mentioned they can be quite combative.
They can be very. And so after the Mars type, you have the jovial type, which is a passive positive type, and in its way, it's the most active of the passive types. But the jovial is what we used to call them social lubricants. They can kind of move into a crowd and move a crowd to gain a lot from each other.
Yeah.
Each person, they're able to harmonize an environment pretty well. But that's a passive positive type. And then you have the lunar, which is a passive negative type. It's the only passive negative type in the Enneagram. And lunars are insular. They're secretive. They are aware. They pay attention and they're alert to detail. But they very rarely respond obviously to, especially strong aggression. They tend to ignore it. It looks like to other types, but they're not. They're processing it very differently, slower. And it's a negative type, so they're pessimistic. They're not accepting necessarily something as it is. They want to check it out, but it takes them longer time, because it's a passive type. Then after that, you have the Venusian type. The Venusian is a passive positive type, and they're warm and sympathetic. The Venusian is, in a certain sense, everybody's ideal mother. They embrace. They're paternal. They like to make sure everybody's comfortable and well fed and so on. And then after that, you have the Mercury, which is an active negative type. And it's the only other active negative type besides the Mars. And these two are often represented as good guys and bad guys in movies. The Mercury tends to be the bad guy most of the time, And the good guy tends to be the Mars guy most of the time. The cop is the Mars guy, the criminal is the Mercury.
Yeah.
Not that that's...
You mentioned at one point in time the Thor Loki.
Oh yes, that's a very good combination. Yeah.
Thor as the Mars type and Loki as the...
he is a Saturn, Mars, and Loki is either a Mercury Saturn or a Venusian Mercury. I'm not sure, but definitely Mercury. And so they're always at odds, these two, because they're both active, negative, trying to take the same space. And so they get in confrontations. I used to joke with people, if you're going to send a spaceship up to the moon or to Mars, and you put a Mars type and a Mercury type in the capsule, it won't come back.
Yeah.
It probably won't reach its destination either.
Fascinating. I mean, so in relation then to compatibility, right? Mars and Mercury are not
They are
necessarily
not
gonna
compatible.
be
They are
two people that you want
they're not.
cohabitating.
Yeah, but your Mars and your Venusian is a maximum attraction.
Ah, that's interesting. So there is a maximum, like an opposite, that is the most compatible? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There are what are called maximum attractions and like types.
Okay.
Oh, and the last type is the solar type.
Ah,
The
yes.
solar is an active positive type, and we like to joke that they're a little like a positive Mercury because they have a lot of energy, and they're a bit naive, and they're the never grow old type.
Yeah.
They remain kid-like for most of their lives, if
Right.
not all of it. And so the solar type can fit with any type. You can have, like, you're a Saturn Mars solar, I'm a Mars solar.
Right.
And so we can fit into, the solar can fit in with any other type.
Right.
So your range of opportunity for dating and business and things like that is a little bit greater in a way than the non-solar types.
Yeah. I do feel like in some ways I have this ability to get along with anybody.
This is
Maybe
the
not
solar.
for a long
time,
but at least for, the moment, I can find a way to lighten the mood or, I don't know, direct the energy to something that we both enjoy.
Well, this is an enviable quality of the solar. Every type has pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
And again, if we know what our type is, it generally implies too that you're going to know what other people's types are, because you can't really know what your type is without knowing other types.
Right.
So there are only 7, although there are a lot of combinations. And generally how it works in that we have all 7 types in us. The type that is, or the types that are most frequently, that we express most frequently, or are most frequently how we respond to events, would be our body type.
Right.
And it's
Our
not that
dominant.
our dominant type, but we have all the types. It just goes down in scale in terms of frequency. So in my case, because I'm a Mars solar, my Mars is there often, and my solar is there often. It doesn't mean I don't have jovial, and I don't have lunar, I don't have Mercury, and so on. I have all those as well. We all do. But there is a dominant version of ourselves that we type. And once we know what that type is, we can predict with some certainty in certain cases what the outcome of an event will be in terms of the behavior of 2 or 3 people or a group or whatever, depending on their types. So the information, body type information is personally good for us, individually good, for us to know ourselves better, because self-knowledge is a great resource for us in directing our lives. The more we know about ourselves and what motivates us, then our decisions tend to be not only more beneficial for us, but more beneficial for everyone.
Right.
Because there's just less clutter, there's less confusion, and less the expectations that we can't meet. We understand why, and so on, and it just makes things clearer, which is really helpful, I think. And this is one of the reasons why we want this knowledge out to people, because the clarity of perception of what we can and can't do, what we are good at and not good at, if we know what those things are, if it's clearer to us, we can perform much better in the society we're in. Even if we're by ourselves, we perform better.
Right.
Having that knowledge.
Yeah, self-knowledge.
So,
It's key. And so you said I'm a Saturn Mars solar.
Saturn Mars solar.
Okay. So, if that's my tendency, those are my archetypes. Who are my most compatible?
Well, the
matches?
solar will fit anywhere, as we were
Yes,
saying.
yeah, you
So
mentioned
your primary goal,
Mhm.
let's say, in terms of a marriage,
Right.
a personal relationship, if you're Saturn Mars, that would be a lunar Venusian
Okay.
type. Because the Venusian is the maximum attraction
For the Mars.
and the lunar is the maximum attraction for the Saturn. So for you, if you can find someone around lunar Venusian, and if they have a little solar, that would be great.
Yeah.
But at least around lunar Venusian, that means that would be a male person
Right.
that is actually very passive in relation to you.
Interesting.
And a lunar Venusian in general is a passive combination because the lunar is a passive negative type and the Venusian is passive positive.
Right.
So there's, for the active Saturn Mars, the passive lunar Venusian is a good balance because it can absorb
Yeah, that's
the Saturn Mars.
That's a fascinating word, absorb. I do find that I'm attracted to people who are a little more soft-spoken and people who also somehow, like if I have a lot of energy and maybe anger when I'm in my Mars, for
Sure.
instance, they don't necessarily react. You know, they're able to manage those emotions and not necessarily be swayed or angered in return. And I think that tends to be a combination that works really well. Or it's also one that I admire. Like I love seeing someone who can kind of manage conflict that way. It's very, very attractive.
It is. I mean, because I'm close to your type also,
Yeah.
I think that it's stunning.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
stunning.
feat. Yeah, it's
That to
really
watch because I am not. I mean, I work at that
Mhm.
always because
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more conscious, more enlightened. So I try to be here for and as a means of controlling some of that.
Yeah.
But I can't. I mean, if somebody evokes my Mars, it's really tough not
Yeah.
to be Mars.
Yeah.
You know, in that moment. And when you see how a lunar Venusian handles the
Yeah.
same thing, the same aggression, it just
With
seems.
a sense of nurturing. Too.
Yes,
You said that
it-
the Venusian is such a nurturing type.
Oh, I know. There was a movie I saw. I think I've talked to you about this before. There was a movie I saw where the actor, I think it was Keith Carradine, was a
Okay.
kung fu guy in the West, and he got caught by some cowboys and put into a metal box overnight without his clothes. And they thought he would die. They wanted to kill him.
Wow.
And he, if I'm remembering correctly, and this is an old memory, but anyway, he comes out of this box, and they open it up, and he's fine. And they're mystified. And they say, well, how come you're not dead? I mean, the cold should have killed you. He says, I just let the cold pass through me. Ever since that thought that we actually have the potential of allowing anything, really, life in itself, to pass through us without attaching, without defining ourselves as anything, just being there. And the Venusian's really good at that because they have also non-existence as a feature of the type.
Right.
So for them, which as we're talking is admirable to us,
Yeah.
for them it's just normal not to. I think that they register, but they don't respond as if they have. So it's a little like whatever is happening is passing through them. And I've thought, for me, that's been a goal ever since I first saw that in the movie. To let irritations or conflicts or dislikes that I have, something comes up and you just let it pass through you.
Right.
We can actually do that. We don't have to attach identity to it. We can actually, to anything, really. And we can let it pass through us. So it's a lesson I can learn
Right.
from the passive type, the lunar and the Venusian both,
Right.
and the lunar Venusian combination.
Right.
Because
So people who have kind of these dispositions that are different than ours, they have a lot to teach us.
they do.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, this is a good point. If we pursue this, if we decide, let's say, that we want to gain body type knowledge,
Yeah.
have this be part of our daily life, and we begin to type people throughout the day. Little by little, the acquaintance we'll have, again, not only with ourselves, but with the environment, the moving environment in which we live, will have a great deal more construction in it, and much less conflict, because conflict mostly arises out of, I don't like to say misunderstanding exactly, because people are misinformed,
Right.
and then they misunderstand.
Yeah.
So it's a double layer.
And it's incredibly difficult to be constructive when you're constantly misunderstood or misinformed. You know, you're just, it's a chain of kind of one problem after the next. But that's fascinating that you said, you know, that they're able to build things or be constructive. I'm constantly looking for that in my life, places, people that I feel like I can be constructive with, you know, to
Build.
to grow and build mutually. And wow, that's fascinating.
No, but I think, Misha, knowing type, there are many more steps we could take to self-knowledge, but knowing our body type, to me, when I look across the board at schools, at law enforcement, at politics, so many things, I see types. I've been studying this I've been studying this since I was 16. And so I have a different, I don't see people like I used to. It's not that I don't see people, I'm not indifferent in that way,
Yeah.
but I see types.
Right.
You can tell me you're Misha, and I know you're Misha, but what I'm seeing when I'm seeing you is not necessarily Misha.
Right.
Not as you see Misha, or people might generally think of you as Misha. I see a Saturn Mars solar, and I see you behaving like one regularly. So that means that in situations outside of the time we're together, you are still going to be behaving like a Saturn Mars solar to other people too. And if we all knew that about each other, I mean, it would reduce to such a large extent the hostility people feel. Because if you know, like, you say something to me and I just go ballistic Mars, like in a flash, like a cat jumping up off the ground. I mean, in a second I can be Mars. But if you know that, if you know it's the Mars in me and not Thomas per se, because Mars is a certain category. The concept of Thomas, or who we are as an individual, is an umbrella over which, or under which, type and so many other aspects that define our human nature reside. That you want to be in a position where you can see that. What is under the umbrella, and have a response to that is equanimical in some way, or is at least conducive to a positive outcome. If you don't know about it, it's going to be hard, and I just see types all the time now. So my situation is that I'm always adjusting to their types, not to the people. I mean, the person can be whatever they are, their name, but I'm not responding to that. I'm responding to their body type. But I'm doing that, in a sense, more consciously, because I've been practicing and studying this for over 50 years. But we all do it intuitively or instinctively. We just don't know it. And so that means we have no control if we don't know. So if we know, we can add a little more control to it and adjust the volume, in a sense, on the exchange to avoid a conflict. Because, for example, if you're a Mars type and you are in a room with a Mercury, and the Mercury has vanity and power, and you have yourself a certain amount of power from your type, and something comes out where your first response from the Mars is to attack or defend, whichever, but to become actively aggressive. And instead of doing that, you go, well, hey, I can just move over into the jovial for a little bit. Because the jovial and the Mercury are maximum attraction.
Yeah.
So why don't I just slip into jovial for this exchange and find some amusement in the Mercury, some delight in the Mercury, rather than hostility. And so one can do that. I mean, it's can't do it for long because it's not our main type, but we can get into it. It's easier to get into the types closest to our primary type, and of course hardest to get into the ones furthest away. But we can do that, and so that it gives us options where otherwise we're just stimulus response. There's no option.
Right.
We just respond, and we don't know. We think it's I, that it's me, but it's just the Mars
Right.
responding to a stimulus.
And that we have a choice. We have a choice in how we react, and we can choose to utilize behavior that is not necessarily our first instinct.
Yes, yes. That gives it, because we like to talk about free will.
Yeah.
Where do we actually express free will? When is that possible? It's only possible if there's choice first. If there's no choice, if we're just stimulus response, if all we're doing is responding from our type, well, not all we're doing, but primarily, if that's what we're doing,
Right.
then where's the free will? Where's the choice in that? We need to have choice. We need to recognize that we don't have choice, not on the level we think we do. And type is part of what gives us that ability to choose, if we know it. So we're, yeah. Okay.
Great.